And now we're rolling.
Good.
Paul Miles from MidAtlanticMMA.tv, joined at this time by Bellator CEO Bjorn Rebney. And Bjorn, can you please introduce the young lady to your right?
Look, the beautiful young lady on my right is my wife, Huma Gruaz, who runs our marketing and public relations, who also represents 4 publicly traded companies, and is a wizard.
So this is a person I should thank for my credentials tonight. Thank you very much.
He's my PR agent.
Yeah, it's a reciprocal PR relationship.
Now, is this the first time you've been on an interview with your husband for a fight?
Yes, it happens to be past midnight, and somehow you both talked me into it, and
Yeah.
I'm sitting here right now.
We're very convincing.
Yes.
So, Bjorn, we're here in Philly, obviously after 33, Huerta versus Alvarez. I haven't been to any other Bellator shows, so put this in comparison to the other 32 shows. Where does it rank?
Wow. People ask me a lot about how this show would stack up going into it, and I was hesitant to say anything because you don't know how the fights are going to turn out. You don't know that the Askren fight against Lyman Good is going to be back and forth and dramatic and dominant and exciting the way it was. You don't know that Alvarez versus Huerta is going to be as powerful as it was, but a great show. Lists amongst the top shows we've ever done. The crowd reaction in Philadelphia was spectacular. I mean, it was just the excitement, the enthusiasm, and just the energy level, unbelievable. The fights were great. Wilson Hayes with a great victory. Rick Hahn with a dramatic kind of I'm Rick Hahn intro to the world of MMA and to MMA fans on a national TV basis. Spectacular. And my wife was sitting next to me throughout the entirety of the event, which she doesn't get a chance to do because she's too busy traveling around the world, which was very, very cool as well.
Excellent. Let's talk about, the 800-pound gorilla in the room is Melendez versus Alvarez. It came up in the press conference. I heard it come up a couple times in other interviews you've done. Everybody's saying, well, why isn't it happening? Well, why isn't it happening? What is Scott's issue with it?
Yep. It is not. It's very simple, and there's. It's not happening because Scott's not saying yes, let's do it at this point. And I like Scott, and he puts on great shows. He produces a great product for Showtime. He packs houses in a vast number of venues he goes to across the country, and he's a good guy. He's a very likable guy. Gilbert wants a fight to happen. Eddie wants a fight to happen. I want the fight to happen. We don't have a problem with television networks because if Scott would say yes, we could do it on the television network that broadcasts Strikeforce. We don't have a problem with venues because if he would do it, we could do it in San Jose at HP. So there isn't a problem or a barrier to entry in making the fight happen, other than conceivably that Scott doesn't want to make the fight happen. But I would let you ask Scott that question. But I'm going to keep calling him, and I'm going to keep texting him, and I'm going to keep trying to convince him to do it. It'd be a great fight. Stylistically, it's a great fight, and I'd love to make it happen.
Now let's go into a fantasy world where Scott has said yes. The match is made. Is the Bellator title on the line? Our title's at stake?
No, it wouldn't be. It would be a 3-round super fight, just like we saw tonight with Roger Huerta. The core philosophy of Bellator is that you earn your way to fight for a title. You earn the right by beating 3 guys in a very dense, packed division of 55-pounders or 70-pounders or 85-pounders or bantams or heavies or women, etc. So that's what we're all about. But nobody seemed to mind in terms of the packed house tonight watching Roger Huerta fight Eddie in a 3-round fight and it only went 2. I don't think any fan, I'm a hardcore fan first, would care about watching the Gilbert Melendez Eddie Alvarez fight as a 3-round super fight. I would assume that fight would be electrifying from start to finish. So,
absolutely.
What do you think?
I think what you think.
Good.
I think it was a great night for Bellator. I'm extremely proud of what Bjorn has built. He had an incredible vision, and I think tonight was an example of what he always dreamed of, this tournament format. I've been with him for a while now, and when he was just thinking about this, so many people told him, matchmakers, it won't work. He was the only one who kept saying it will, and he believed in it. And I think he's proven it can work, and it can be extremely exciting. But I've been there when nobody was saying to him that it will work. He was the only one who believed in it, and he actually went out and did it and made it happen. So now everybody's believing in it because he was a true leader and a visionary. So I'm extremely proud.
when you talk about matchmakers saying that this concept won't work, you hire a matchmaker that people here in Philly are very familiar with, Sam Kaplan. This show, from top to bottom, had Sam's fingerprints all over it, from Fran Evans on down to Eddie Alvarez. Did you just open the door and say book whoever you want, or how much freedom did you give him in putting this show together?
Sam is hugely talented at what he does, and there's a role for matchmaking in terms of the development of fighters at a very young stage in their career. But Sam's job has gone from being a world-class matchmaker to being a world-class talent procurement specialist in terms of setting up tournaments that are just stacked top to bottom. And then he can still put together 4 fights that aren't part of the televised show that will be electrifying, and pit great guys against each other so that you can see what somebody's made of and see if they conceptually should qualify for an eliminator or take the next step in our organization. Brian Goldthwait is a great example of guys that Sam just picks out of nowhere and finds and ultimately moves on. He's wildly talented at what he does, and we're lucky to have him. This show, in terms of his freedom, he calls me and tells me what he wants to do. And 9 out of 10 times go, that sounds great, because he's got an incredible vision and unbelievable work ethic. I'm very fortunate he's working with my company. So
he's a very talented guy. He's a big fan. He's got a lot of fans in Philadelphia for sure.
For good reason.
Yeah. You did have one title change hands today. Ben Askren, who came out of nowhere, was a big. If I remember right, he kind of put himself on the national stage, calling out everybody. And after 3 fights in the Missouri circuit, went into the tournament, won the tournament, and now beat Lyman Good. First of all, will Lyman be able to get a rematch, or does he have to go back into the tournament?
Got to go back into the tournament. He's got to, as Dan Hornbuckle text messaged me tonight, just got to go through 3 bodies to get there, brother. And he's got to do the same thing. If Lyman wants a shot at Ben Askren, he's got to earn that, beating the Lozanos of the world, and the Hornbuckles of the world, and the Carls of the world, and the Wallheads of the world. That is a stacked division. Stacked division stylistically that would work pretty well for a Lyman Good.
Yeah.
It's a lot of punchers and a lot of guys who throw consistently, but he's got to take that road if he wants to come back, and that'll be a decision he'll make. But he's got a heck of a warrior's mentality, so my assumption will be he'd welcome that opportunity.
So you don't have a commitment from him for the next season?
No, and I just think out of Kurt, here's a guy who won our title, held the title, suffered a very, very substantial injury. So as a human being, I don't want to go to him and say, hey, you wanted the tournament. He lost something pretty important tonight. But given his kind of resolve and the person he is, my assumption is that he'll come back and he'll be ready to rock and roll, and hopefully we can get him back in the tournament. I'd love him to be back in the tournament.
See, I'm a blogger. I don't have to be a good guy. I can ask those questions. We're here in Philly. You talk about how this stacked up. When are you coming back?
I'd like to come back as soon as we can. Obviously, if we're going to do a card in Philly, it's got to have Eddie Alvarez on it. So we'll see. There's a Pat Curran world title defense that's got to happen. There's obviously, we've been talking about it. Everybody's asked about it. There's a fight that I'd love to do against Gilbert Melendez, but my assumption is, given the willingness that I've had to do that in San Jose, I can't imagine that he'd go, as a matter of fact, let's do it in Philly. I don't think that'll happen. So we'll see. This was an incredible audience, an incredible fan reaction. It's just, this is what the night's supposed to be about. So as soon as we can get back here, I'd love to be back here.
Why did it take 33 shows to get out here?
Well, first and foremost, we had a lot of seasons go by where you couldn't do MMA in this state.
Right.
And then once it could, we were booked at different venues, and Eddie had, then we had to have things kind of fall in terms of the current situation, and Eddie's super fight, we did it as a doubleheader with Roger to try to build up toward what we ultimately assumed might be a Roger Huerta versus Eddie Alvarez lightweight world title fight, 5 rounds in Philadelphia, because that was always kind of the plan of action. So, the greatest laid plans, as they say. And this was an opportunity to do it, and Roger came back around and was able to make it happen. So, it took some time, but, hopefully it won't take nearly as, it won't take another 33 events from Bellator to make that work.
Well, we appreciate you coming in. Last question, you've got South Florida, I believe, next week.
Hard Rock.
What's going on with season 4? When does that start? Who are we looking forward to seeing?
Feathers, light, welters, and middles, and mid-February as a start date. and those 4 weight divisions, and then ultimately just traverse back over for season 5 in terms of probably re-upping on bantams. We'll see what's going on with heavy. I think the women have been great for us, which is a whole other story, but one that's been pretty exciting for us. And then we've got to get into the light heavyweight business, and we've been recruiting like crazy. Sam Kaplan's been working those, between the 4 o'clock a.m. hour and the 6 o'clock a.m. hour. He's been focused on 205. So, we'll get to all.
Well, we appreciate your time. I appreciate you letting me borrow your husband for a couple minutes. We'll let you get out of here. Thank you again for coming to Philadelphia, and we look forward to seeing you again.
Thanks,
Bjorn, you want to give Scott Coker your phone number?
He's got it. He's got texts from me. He's got voicemail messages. His office is like, yes, we gave him the message. So he knows I'm trying to reach him. He's a good dude. He'll get back to me. I've just got to somehow twist his arm and get him to accept that fight. I hope. I'd love to see that fight happen.
So does everybody else. Thank you again, Bjorn.
You got it. Thanks, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.